There are 5 things that I wish I knew before I started skateboarding. The first thing that I wish I knew before I started skateboarding was how many shinners I would get, but also the amount of scratches that I would get along my leg. If you don't know what a shinner is, basically it's when your board hits your shin. It's not fun. As a beginner, it's really hard to avoid these things because you don't have that control over your board, or you're just not comfortable with your board yet. So what I wish I knew before I started skateboarding was to wear long pants. Before you say anything, I know. It's 100 degrees where I am. How do you expect me to wear long pants? And I understand that, and I agree. There are days where it's going to be super hot, but honestly, it's worth it to me to wear long pants and take more freaking water breaks and stay in the shade longer if it means that I don't go home with a bunch of scratches on my legs that eventually will scab. The second thing that I wish I knew before I started skateboarding is a little controversial and a little bit hypocritical. It's don't watch skateboard tutorials before you start learning a trick. Well, how am I going to learn how to do a trick if I don't watch a tutorial first? And you're right, but hear me out. No two skaters are the same. So being able to experiment with how you do a trick and how you learn to do tricks will make your progression a lot more efficient. By doing this, you find your own style and your own way of doing tricks that work for you. A kickflip that works for someone else may not necessarily work for you. So if you don't know what a trick looks like, you can go on YouTube and search the trick. But don't watch a tutorial on how to do it. Simply just watch the trick on its own, and once you figure out how the trick looks, take what you saw and try to mimic or try to learn how to do that trick. Through this trial and error, you actually develop your own way of doing tricks and your own way of learning how to learn. Then, and only then, if you can't figure out how to do the trick, should you go on YouTube and watch tutorials on how to actually do the trick. By doing this, you don't force yourself to copy or mimic other people. Everyone's body is a little bit different. Everyone has different muscles and different movements. The third thing that I wish I knew before I started skateboarding was not to compare myself to others. And I know you've probably heard this before time after time, but honestly, this is easier said than done. I personally struggle with this because when I go to the skate park, I see amazing skaters doing these crazy tricks, and I'm just over in the corner of the skate park practicing my ollies. Right? This can be very discouraging if you compare yourself to others. But honestly, I think the beauty of skateboarding is the community that it's associated with. And I know I can't speak on behalf of everyone, but from my own personal experience, everyone that I have met skateboarding was really nice. So I'm able to ask them and approach them with any questions that I may have on how to do a trick. But this goes both ways. You have to be considerate and kind towards them. And that means not cutting them in front of them at the skate park, staying out of their way, and also just keeping the skate park generally tidy after you leave the skate park. Overall, don't compare yourself to others. Everyone has their own journeys. No two journeys are the same. Each journey varies in the path that they take and the timeline that it takes. Don't feel discouraged if you don't land a trick the first time. Continue at it, keep practicing, but most importantly, don't ever give up. The fourth thing that I wish I knew before I started skateboarding was this learning curve. Skateboarding is extremely challenging because it encompasses physical, emotional, and mental pain. Skateboarding is very meticulous, as a change in a fraction of a second or a displacement of a single inch can change the total outcome of a trick. Falling and getting hurt adds an additional layer of pain that makes learning and improving feel like an insurmountable climb. So the learning curve is something that I wish I knew before I started skateboarding. It really shows the progress of learning a new trick and improving in skateboarding overall. At first, it feels impossible. But then you get to learn how to ride and you start to feel more comfortable. So you start to learn how to ollie. But then you fail and you feel like you can't do it. But eventually, through perseverance, you start to get the hang of your ollies and you start to build that confidence. Once you build that confidence, you start to do more complicated tricks. But you fall into that rut of not being able to land that trick and you think to yourself, well, I'm just not good enough. This learning curve is very cyclic in all tricks you learn. In matter of fact, in all aspects of life. So keep this learning curve at the back of your mind when you're in this valley. Through hard work and perseverance, you'll definitely get out of this valley. Everyone, including pros, feel defeated sometimes. But don't let that stop you from getting back up. A famous Japanese proverb says, fall 7 times, stand up 8. The last thing that I wish I knew before I started skateboarding, which is by far the most important of them all, is to ask yourself why you started skateboarding. If the first thing that popped into your mind is that you wanted to look cool or you wanted to impress someone, well, unfortunately, those are short-lived answers and not good reasons for you to start or to continue skateboarding. When you ask yourself this question, you need to find an answer that relates to you and only yourself. Whether the reason is to have fun, challenge yourself, or to simply stay in shape, the answer has to stem from the fact that you want to skateboard for yourself and not for anyone else or not anything else. Skateboarding is difficult. Skateboarding is painful. Skateboarding will break you down. If your reason for not continuing and getting back up every time you fall is not related to your own personal self, then I can guarantee you'll find it very challenging to stay motivated and to continue skateboarding when those intrinsic factors are gone. Do it for yourself, not for others, and enjoy the journey. It'll be tough and it will definitely not be a straight path. But enjoy every single moment of the journey, especially the tough and difficult times. So those were my 5 things that I wish I knew before I started skateboarding. None of these things were technical things that helped you improve on your skateboarding, but all come down to you personally and reasons why you want to continue skateboarding in the long run. Understanding the learning curve and appreciating all the difficulties and the challenges that skateboarding presents you will keep you motivated to continue skateboarding in the long run. No doubt you'll fall, but falling doesn't mean you have to stay down. You have the choice to stand back up and try again, but that choice is ultimately entirely up to you and nobody else. So what will you choose? Thank you for watching this video and please consider subscribing to this channel if you want to see more skate content.